Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Friday with the Jocks of All Trades podcast show, Smashed Popcorn, where we bring you exciting and new movie reviews. This week, we will be doing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. So, we did Spider-Man last week, so it just felt appropriate to trudge through the trilogy by going right on to Spider-Man 2. Now, I did forget literally one thing out of all the stuff that I prepped to do. Humor me for like 2 seconds. I read this is what this movie synopsis kind of is. And I'm going to do it again because I think it's just kind of helpful. Peter Parker is beset with troubles in his failing personal life as he battles a brilliant scientist named Dr. Otto Octavius. Painful, but incredibly accurate. Let's start talking through the film because I think that's kind of really on the nose. The first thing that stuck out to me, dude, you said it last time. I'm going to say it again. The Spidey theme, Danny Elfman, thank you, is just so incredible and memorable. And every time I boot up these movies, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm in for. If only the action of the movie would ever fully follow the music. But yeah. I also have to pick on you because the opening credits gives us background of the first movie. Useful credits, Kyle, is what I wrote.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I said. I said next movie, the opening credits are better because they give us a history of the first one. I like that. I just don't like names flying at me before a movie without any kind of context behind it.
Yep. At the very beginning, just please stop monologuing Peter Parker's like inner like working mechanisms. Like the beginning of the movie is just a whole monologue, and I'm like, dude, we did that at the end of 1, Sam Raimi. We know where he is. I don't need it at the beginning of 2. I already know that he's moody. Thank you. I finally got it. It didn't hit me as much in the first one, but it hit me in the second one. He is just super sad in these movies. And still, like I want to feel bad for you, and then you'll go, which is how he stares. He's just got like this, like mouth, and I'm like, dude, what? But his eyes are like way bigger. It has to be like, it drives me nuts. Then it starts out with the pizza delivery scene. Hiding the costume in his jacket is funny. I like that Sam Raimi gives us like a whole like, where was he just at? Like, we don't know. Like, oh, it's just being Spider-Man. Oh, I had things come up. We're like, yeah, we know. Like, it's established. Stop it.
Yeah.
Joe's 29-minute guarantee. Yeah. That's fine. But with 7 minutes and 42 blocks, why did you start driving? I would have immediately gone, like, Webb, my guy, Webb, you have them. The drama, like, and the music of the whole pizza scene is just ridiculous. Like, why? Again, this goes back to, like, the first movie. Like, he just is a good guy. Like, yeah, he's sad. Yeah, he's creepy, but he's still a good guy. Because he saves the kids, it kills his time, and probably if he hadn't saved the kids, he would have got the pizza there. Spoilers. But it proves that he's morally, like, he's doing it for the right reasons. Good job, Peter. You're still there. Webbing the pizza slice is so funny to me.
Hey, like, the guys
pizza. Coming out of the closet as Peter with the pizzas is so funny. Like him just like trying to put all the brooms back in. I'm like, oh, this is painful to watch. Like, oh my god! Like
nice little.
Wait, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said nice little cameo by Emily Deschanel as well in the
Bones.
Yeah, that's her. That's Zoe Deschanel's sister. Yeah, that was super funny. There's a lot of little quirks in these movies that are like they just kind of like keep you there for a while. They're not quick beats, but like
No.
the elevator scene and this one as well,
Oh
when
my
he
God,
has to,
yes.
you know what I mean? Like that's
Yes.
a good 30 seconds of him just like standing there. But it works, you know, these kind of longer beats where you just find awkward Spider-Man. And that's what he
Yes.
is a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um he's awkward and funny rather than just like, you know, comically audibly funny, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The phrase that spawned so many memes, pizza time. Like, why? You're late, my guy. Yeah, Bones is the receptionist. I had that written. Um, Peter just keeps getting screwed. Like this whole film is just like a big middle finger to Peter Parker. And like I guess that's interesting, but at some point you're like, dude, like
You like stop it. I'm tired of
yeah.
it.
It didn't hit me in the first film. Like all the stuff that you guys said about the first film hit me more in the second film than the first film because this one's just a let's crap on Peter Parker fest. He gets fired at Joe's. He gets fired at the Bugle. J.K. Simmons just I love. Yes, it's about Toby. It's about the Spider-Man thing, but he just takes over those scenes. He's so iconic and so funny. His personality is massive and just soaks up everything in those scenes. Sorry, Toby. I know it's about you, but I'm too interested in J.K. Simmons. Dr. Connors is on him too, struggling between Spidey and Peter, which is going to become the whole quest of this entire film. Is his life is falling apart because he's living a double life, which we've literally gone through in every Spider-Man film that's ever existed so far to date. But this one is just like mean, just really mean. Like everything wrong happens to him. Let's continue that with Connor telling him he was saying, I'm planning to write it. Planning is not a major. Like the one-armed man just like smacked you really hard. Peter falling behind. This is good. So Harry is now leading Oscorp. Wasn't Harry just like a playboy in the first one? Like, why are you leading Oscorp?
He seemed like he was on the track of like doing some better things at Oscorp, but apparently he's the head of special like research division or whatever. So like, I don't know. Again, Oscorp in the first one to this one, it just for me, it's like, what do they actually do? They never really
Day and
explain.
night.
Yeah, what do they actually do? They never really explain what they do. I'm very confused all the time. Like I don't, you know, but whatever. You just take it for what it is because it's a superhero movie, big bad organization, whatever. Yeah.
So. And we went from military tech to fusion reactor, creating clean energy for everyone. Like, what happened to Oscorp?
I don't know. Very weird.
He's talking about funding fusion and Otto Octavius. There's our first Octavius. I know him. I can get you to meet him. You would? I'm like, Peter, he's your best friend. Like, he may hate Spider-Man, but you're a nerd. Yeah. He knows you're both nerds. He knows it's going to benefit him in some way. It just sometimes Toby / Peter in this film is just so stupid. It's like not believable. MJ still loves the Peter. Shocker. Wow. It's not like we left on a cliffhanger or anything.
But like, to me with MJ is what is annoying is like people are like, well, she does fall in love with Peter, but in this movie she specifically says like I always had a feeling that, you know, it was you. So I'm like, so are you really in love with Peter or are you really in love with Spider-Man? You know, like if you truly had a feel, you know what I mean? Like she even tries that upside down kiss with J. Jonah Jameson's son, which like is a cool kind of scene because it kind of like, I mean, it's weird, but like it's kind of cool because she's really trying to figure it out. But it's like, are you really? You're gonna marry this dude? You kiss him once upside down, and you're like, nah, that's not Spider-Man. Like,
right?
She's just a little all over the place again.
And it's not helpful.
I think she's better in this one than the last one, but it's not by much. So
no.
Same with Harry. I think Harry was better in this one than he was the last one.
Yes. Well, they gave their characters more depth, and it's in the future of my notes, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this is 2 years like in like movie time after the original one.
Right.
So Peter has kind of understood like how to be Spidey at this point. Harry has had time to figure himself out. MJ has been like, I guess I'll figure out my life on my own, and now I'm successful. So like everyone but Peter has advanced in 2 years. Spidey has advanced, but not Peter, and that really hits it here. This line destroys me every time because it's the how would I phrase that? Like the thread, like if you pulled that thread, like the whole tapestry would fall apart. And that's where this is between Peter and Harry. If you knew who he was, would you tell me? And I'm like, like that's so hard. Like you could tell him and then die. Like, you know, but it's your best friend, so you should tell him, but you didn't kill his dad. So like, how do you know, and that's rough. Aunt May is struggling with bills. That's comic accurate. She's an old woman. What is she going to do?
Also, this really good scene when it's a birthday and she gives him $20 and he's like, no. Like even his own aunt, something simple as $20, and he's like, no. Again, shows the goodness of Peter. But then she's like, no, you just take, like that is very,
yes, you can.
Very real. It's very real. Like just human characters right there for a woman like that to like give whatever she has left. She doesn't have much, but to give it
because Peter really is her son.
Yeah, for sure. And that's again just really well written, and she was probably the best Aunt May we've seen, and just like a very she did have like a minimal part in these movies, but just a very well written character, I think, very well defined, and she does a really good job. So,
Peter keeps being weird and running from MJ. Like, dude. My favorite is she just stops and goes, "You're such a mystery." To which I literally said to the screen, and I'm going to edit myself, he's Spider-Man. Like, duh. Like, did you not? Like, why has no one in these films gone, ooh, Spider-Man appeared around the same time Peter got buff hot and lost his glasses? Like, why does no one figure this out? Like, make it a little more believable, guys. Yeah. This is from Devin. Devin had a really good note. He stares like a frog, big eyes and mouth agape.
Yeah, he does. There's a lot of staring in this movie by him. It's very constant how much he stares. Like when Aunt May is giving him the whole speech about being a hero, which is very good, by the way, something we'll come back to. He just is like staring the entire time, and like I'm like, where's the direction on that one? Like, can he like, I don't know, say something, or can he audibly, I don't know, do something besides stare off into the sunset? I don't. Yeah. I'm not in love with some of those choices, but like you said, he's kind of awkward, weird Peter, so it fits.
Don't disappoint me. To which I said to the screen, you mean like he's been doing the whole time so far in this film? Gee, I wonder how that's going to pan out. Yeah. It just like some of this stuff is just so painful. You know what's going to happen. It hurts. The next part, you're going to love this. We both loved it. I thought he was going to show up in No Way Home, and it didn't. Rent guy. Hey, he's here finally.
Rent.
What's high? Can I spend it? All I have is $20. Give me rent. It's like his whole character. Give me rent. I'm like, hey.
Also, what was the whole cake scene with his daughter and like, would you like a piece of chocolate cake with the glass of milk?
I have to edit this too. The daughter is an arsonist, by the way, because she immediately sets a fire after saying hi to Peter. She also wants some Pete. Otto, we'll skip to Otto. We'll come back to her. Otto has got some killer turtlenecks, my guy. Like that is straight out of the comics. Like all he wears is turtlenecks. I love Alfred Molina. Knowing some of the backstory now and reading as to like how he got the part, why he like fought for certain things about the part. He didn't want the character to be one-dimensional. We're going to talk about that. Intelligence is not a privilege. It's a gift. It should be used to help the betterment of mankind. Love that. It's going to come back. My next one was fusion and science crap. I don't care. Like, just tell me what's going to happen. Like, oh, and if you move the thermal couplers to the... Like, who cares? Shut up.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah. Poetry helps love. Dude, Otto, like he's not even around this woman. He has not been active and said I love you.
So lame.
Poetry will help.
Yeah.
All his clothes getting dyed red and blue. That's such a 2000s problem. It's not even funny. Again, Peter struggles in this film. Peter's scooter thing is so dumb. He looks like a moron driving. I guess that's the point. I had to write this because I know you and I will both like this. Work out, plenty of rest. Eat your green vegetables. My mom's always telling me to do that.
I just never believed her.
I wrote this because it just keeps coming back again and again. Like they beat us over the head with it. I don't like that when films do this. But Spidey's superhero life interferes with Peter's life. Like, duh, we know. When he changes into into Spider-Man and like slides in between that big wheeler, like when it's driving and goes like in between the cabin. Like, do you remember that?
I love that. Yeah.
Oh gosh. They were so creative with how to make like Spider-Man like exist in New York.
Yeah.
And just beautiful. Mysterio is the usher at MJ's show. We knew that was coming back. The illusion line
maintains the illusion. Yep.
I'm so mad they didn't give Mysterio a film. I mean, they did down the line, but it took forever. A Spider-Man. I'm like, oh God, like shut up.
So good. Especially like when his face when he hears that is so funny. I think he could be a lot funnier if they gave him like more, I don't know, like comedic lines. Like Tobey Maguire to me can easily play like a very kind of straight funny, you know what I mean? Like very dry kind of humor. I think he's that type of person. Didn't really dive deep on that aspect, but definitely funny. So
the running Superman style change, I love that. Like while he's changing, I love that. The web swinging, did you notice that? It's more creative in this movie.
Yeah,
like the ways that the angles are shot and like how he's swinging and like different ways, like they really like open that up to like he's not just swinging straight, like he can move, he's acrobatic, he's got like agility.
And that's 1/4 of the budget was spent on special effects in this movie, as opposed to the first one. Like the first one in any kind of movie, you're a little bit like scarce with it because you're like, well, we want to make sure this is good. We want to make sure this lasts. We're not going to put everything we have into this movie because like it's the first one. But knowing that Spider-Man was so successful, everybody loved it, they decided to put more on special effects, and it really showed up. Like there wasn't a lot of scenes in this movie where I was like taken out and I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like everything on the clock tower or whatever you want to call it, like those fights, the train fight, all of that, like the effects I think held up and were very well done. So it paid off. So
it did, and we're about to start talking about where it paid off in a sec. He loses his web ability. That'll come back later. The MJ poster staring at him is so nice after he fails to like show up for her show. I'm like, that's such a well done. That is a wonderful like theater background kind of thing, like a wonderful like kind of foil, kind of like ahead of like what's going to happen and like that tension that's there. I love that. Foil was not the right word. I'm going to get murdered for that later, I'm sure. Payphones, you pull me out of it with like the old stuff. Okay, Otto's demonstration. A lot happens here. Let's talk about it quick. His idea was great. He really wanted to help. Like, thank you for doing this with villains. Don't just make a bad guy. Give me something that I'm like, oh, this is awesome. The arms. Oh, the arms. I could talk just a whole podcast about the arms. Like
they were like snakes,
like with like mixed effects.
Mm-hmm. I love how they were like snakes, had their own little personalities to them. You know, they weren't just fingers. Like they were actually like characters in the movie. Like kind of like whispering in Otto's ear and literally like had control of his brain, you know. Thought that was really well played, well done, and it worked.
Yep. The power of the sun in my hand line. His overconfidence is his main killer here. The horror elements, now that we've talked about it, we're really at play here. Containment breach. I noticed this time, and I never really connected it. If he had not taken the time to swat Spidey from shutting it down, it would have been shut down. He could have pulled his wife out of the way. That wouldn't have happened. But because he swatted Spidey, that took the time. Between that and the glass breaking and coming and killing her, that would have saved her. I'm like, like, dude. Neural link and the inhibitor chip goes bad. The hospital scene. Speaking of horror settings,
yeah, that was one of the biggest ones.
Mama. Yep. Yeah. The arms. You're talking about the arms. The way they chitter to him and that you can hear it, and like he talks with them. I love that. I love that. I did write after the hospital scene, Otto be wild and get some pants, G. Because he's really walking out there like naked.
Yeah.
Quick, what should we call him? Dr. Octopus, Science Squid, Doctor Strange. I like the last one, but it's taken. How about Doc Ock? Didn't I just say that? I love seeing the first communication between the arms and Ock and him realizing, like, oh crap, I'm not in control. Immediately they take him over. I was like, whoa, like the shift to it would be a real crime not to finish. And I'm like, well, now he's a bad guy. Here it is. Bank scene. Oh my gosh. Doc Ock comes in with the style and the drama and the sunglasses and arms, removing the hat and all that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's just so goofy, but it's comic accurate. It is. Yeah, but it's just so goofy. We get the first Spider-Man versus Ock. This is such a neat sequence. Throwing the like gold bags at him. You get to see that the arms are more than just arms. Like they have like little cables that can grab stuff, and like it's just cool. Ock takes Aunt May. Did we also notice that Otto immediately goes crazy and tries to kill him? After Spidey loses his web ability, they're still fighting. He goes to crush his head immediately. Dude has only been around one other time. And he's like, yes, I'll kill you. Like, whoa. Like, those arms are mean. The office scene right before Ock, like, arms push through the windows. There's some more horror setting for you. Like, this one was more horror-oriented than the first one was. The way Alfred Molina says, oops, Butterfingers. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this was such a 2000s film. It hurt. Yeah. Stan Lee. Can we talk about when he's up on the building? How do you not recognize Peter's voice, May?
Yeah. You know, I've always thought that she kind of always knew.
I think she knew, yes.
Was Spider-Man. So that's my theory anyway. I've always just kind of thought that. But it's just funny that, like, in these movies, even if like they're out of the way, the villains try to go for MJ or Aunt May. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they're not even the first one there, and they're like, and we go through all these people and pick this one. Why this one? I don't know, but I'll just pick her. Okay, I guess that works.
It furthers the story.
Yeah, but poor Aunt May. You know, poor Aunt May.
Can we talk about May though? May really whacks Ock with an umbrella.
Yeah,
May really goes sicko mode and goes, not today.
More than MJ ever did. Like, MJ tried to do things to Green Goblin, to Doc Ock, and like just no, it didn't work. But we got Granny over there just whacking dudes, and that works out. But
yeah. So after that scene, we get to the what is it again? Like some social event for John. We find out that MJ is dating John Jameson. This is fun. I thought they were going to do something with this, and they didn't. It's one of those other like Mysterio things. John Jameson in the comics, he goes to the moon, catches a virus, turns him into Man-Wolf, and I was like, dude, it'd be really cool if they had Man-Wolf down the line sometime. Which I guess they set it up, but never used it. But
another one, like Venom came back with him to Earth. That was another storyline.
Yeah,
when he was up there. So I thought they would have used that too.
Yeah. I wrote, God, he's just so awkward with everyone, including MJ. The poetry is just weird. Like, read the room, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the everyone hates Peter party. Harry starts coming undone and is like going psycho at this point. Webbing is gone again, but this time he's losing his sticky grip, losing his vision. He talks with Ben's ghost, to which I wrote, "Is this Spider-Man or Empire Strikes Back?" Sorry. Weepy Peter is weepy. Spider-Man No More. The costume in the trash can. Amazing Spider-Man cover number 50. Lifted the exact image of him walking away and the suit coming out of the trash can. Perfect. I love that. Raindrops keep falling on my head montage. I sang the whole thing. I know where it comes in the whole thing. Here's my only problem with this. Peter is just being Peter. Eating a hot dog? Like, why do we need to see that, Sam Raimi? Ignoring crime, catching up on school. The freeze frame is awful. After Connor's just like, "Good job, Peter. Keep it up."
Yeah.
And it literally freezes on this terrible smile of him, and it's like blurry. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He goes to see MJ in Importance of Being Earnest. Great. And then immediately turns it into, "I'm here for you now." Ooh, way too late, buddy.
Yeah.
Spidey's costume goes to JJJ. We knew about that. He ignores a robbery. He ends up telling May about what happened that night.
She did not like it. Yeah.
Walks away. Harry is way too obsessed with Spider-Man. Didn't realize it until this one. He's got like newspaper clippings. He's got like a board. I'm like, whoa! Like,
why didn't like Peter ever just say, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man, but I didn't kill your dad"?
Kill your dad. I wrote that.
Like, and why did the butler, even though it's the third one, why did the butler wait to the third one to tell him that it was his own glider? Like, that to me is just
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved something that I noticed when Ock is coming up the building and you hear boom, boom. It's a very Jurassic Park style thing because there's like liquid moving and stuff is shaking.
Yeah.
Like, well, I was like, that's cool. Like, nice little homage there. Harry ends up dealing with Ock for Spidey. Ock gets more tritium in the deal. Peter goes into a fire because he's an idiot, is exactly what I wrote. Why touch a doorknob in a fire? This is like 101, like, don't touch a doorknob, metal in a fire.
Also, this is so 2000s though, and like also like harkening back to like Spider-Man games. You know, when you play a Spider-Man game and it's like, oh, on your radar, there's a fire that you have to stop. You know what I mean? Like, how often does that happen? I guess maybe it happens often, but like, it's just like, it's just kind of annoying. You know, oh, there's a fire. Spider-Man, come save the day. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, not even, because I wrote this. I'm like, the kid literally saves Peter when he's supposed to be saving the kid. Ugh. Yeah. Like you failed at that, man. Peter trying to determine who he needs to be. The cake, I wrote this. The cake and milk thing is the nicest thing to happen to him in the whole film so far.
For sure. Yeah.
Nicest thing to happen to him. And I think it like flipped a switch to him to like, oh, everyone's not terrible, because everyone has been horrible to him up to this point. I think she likes him. I think they talk about that in 3, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. I wrote this. May is so integral to who Peter is.
Yeah.
Part of why he carries on as Spidey, and that'll come back later. But that's a lovely conversation. Didn't write the whole thing because it comes back, and we'll talk about it there.
The hero speech is just it.
Yes.
I never realized how good it was, but like it was just so like there's a hero in all of us. Like it was just so well done. I didn't realize it was one of my favorite parts, but watching it again, I'm like, that's really good. So, and
I wrote the line that sticks out: "Have to be steady and give up the things we want the most, even our dreams." And that's like where he clicks and goes, "People need Spider-Man." Like perfect. Aunt May has no idea what she's saying to him, but it's perfect.
Right.
Spidey powers montage part 2. My favorite was "I'm back to my back" in like 0.2 seconds. Yeah. MJ realizes she doesn't love John Boy. MJ meets Peter at the cafe. "Kiss me, Peter. If you don't love me, just a little kissy."
Yeah.
And then the car.
Great. Also, I love that scene. I love when the cars come in.
Yes.
Great scene.
I do, but I don't, because Harry literally said, "Don't hurt Peter." The first thing he does, I'll get his attention.
Throw a car at him.
Yeah, He was going to be squished flat. How were you going to ask him any questions?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, he is dark. Otto is dark. Find him or I'll peel the flesh off her bones.
Yeah.
Yikes. Like, I don't know if that's the AI or not, but dude, chill.
Yeah.
I wrote, of course he takes MJ, like you said. Angry, nerdy Peter emerges from the rubble as a fully functioning Spider-Man. I never understood that. He's just like, "Wah!" And then I'm Spidey. Look, what?
Still love it though. I love like the change in music to him clenching his fist, like the Arthur meme. It's all good. I love it.
Yes, we are almost done. We're gonna keep walking through. Spidey's back in with a vengeance. Ock is incredibly powerful. Like you don't understand it until after that. The subway scene is super unrealistic, but it's cool anyways. I love it. Fighting on the side of the train as well on the top. It's just wild. Like how they were able to do that in the 2000s with that kind of CGI and like make it look super realistic and like through the windows and smack him on the other side of the subway. Awesome stuff. Here it is again. Ock throwing people is just cruel. Like he knows he can't beat him, so he's like, like, dude. Like I know Green Goblin gets all the love, but Ock is just cruel. Like, just evil. And it's not even him. I guess it's the AI. I'll say it's the arms, but Spidey makes little webs to catch him. I thought that was fun. Otto messes with the train and breaks it. Surprise. Spider-Man's famous train stopping scene still holds up. Like it's still awesome till like the music and like. But the only thing that breaks me out of it, it's really silly because Toby is Toby. And like the faces, I'm like,
see, I don't mind that one, but when near the end, when MJ is about to like get flattened by the by the like part of the house, no, I'm just like, well, dude, you're not that far away from it. Like,
I almost would have taken a Darth Vader no there instead of the no that he did.
Yeah, that was not good. No.
Also another thing here, Spidey is strong, like really strong. New Yorkers carrying him is some fun symbolism of like New Yorkers always will carry their hero. He's just a kid, even though he looks 40, but sure. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. Ock really is just a massive mother. He's just mean. He sucker punches Spidey. Gets delivered to Harry. Harry discovers Peter is Spidey. I wrote it here, and you just said it. Could have been solved with, I didn't kill your dad. He's your best friend. It's not like he's just not going to believe you.
Right.
Let's go to Peter and Ock final fight. The reactor goes nuts again. Shocker. MJ goes ham trying to hit Ock with some wood. Now, here's the only thing I didn't understand about the umbrella working, but the wood didn't. They were both behind him, and they all have cameras, so why didn't he see that one? Like, I need to watch it again and find out, but I'm like, why didn't you see that one? But he saw the wood. Pulling the plug didn't work this time. It's too strong.
The river.
Not purposefully, but he got electrocuted and the arms kind of got shocked or whatever. But Octavius uses his brain power to subdue the arms. It's not because he's just like strong. He's just like, I'm in charge, and like takes over. And I'm like, that's cool.
He was in charge for that like little moment. Like if he would have carried on for the next like day or couple days, I think they would have regained control. But in that little splice of a moment, he was like, I have a very short window here of where I'm in control. So I need to end this now. And that's one of my favorite lines of the whole Spider-Man trilogy is I will not die a monster.
Yeah, I wrote that.
So really.
My favorite is Aunt May's teaching about giving up dreams, and sometimes that's what you have to do. That's what helps him beat Ock, because Ock's like, yeah, you're right. This shouldn't be happening. It's going to hurt people.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have that realization, and it's nice to get like the full scope of it with No Way Home. MJ learns about Peter being Spider-Man. I did write it. I will not die a monster. I loved it. Ocken does his own creation and subsequently dies. That just makes me sad because I'm like, he really wasn't a bad guy. Like, MJ and Peter have like a lovey moment and then decide again they can't be together. I'm like, oh my gosh, how many movies are we going to drug this out?
Yeah, so off on, I don't know, what do you want to do about it? Not sure. You don't like me. I love, like, there's so much of this in this trilogy so far that it's just kind of becoming unbearable at this point.
Yes. So then after that, Harry sees Norman. I don't know if he's hallucinating or like what, like if Norman has like a projector and like whatever. But he throws the knife at him, freaks out, and finds the goblin lair. And I'm like, oh, yes. Because it's obvious what's going to happen next. MJ runs away on her wedding day and goes to Peter because, I mean, why not at this point, I guess, right? Isn't it about time somebody saved your life? Like, honey, you never did anything to save Spider-Man or Peter. But
I do like that line, but like, yeah, you haven't really done anything up to this point. No.
And now Peter and MJ are together. Ugh, is what I just wrote. I'm like, it's a good film, but also like it kills itself by being a romance. It should have been a superhero movie, first of all, but it's more of a romance in most of like the trilogy. But if it had just focused on Peter being Peter, that again would have failed because it's too cringy. So I don't know.
Here's the thing, like the romance, I think you need a little bit of that in these Spider-Man movies, but it has to be realistic. The Garfield ones, which I'm sure we'll review at some point, those were basically all Gwen Stacy and Andrew Garfield, and while all that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, and while all that was like really well done, and it was because it was very believable, I don't just want romance in a Spider-Man movie. These ones, like, there's a lot less of it, but it was just so horribly done. Is that like it kind of like expounded the entire movie? That like once you got into these scenes, once you got into these moments, you're just like ugh, get me out because I don't want to be here right now. So
yeah. Okay, so the only actor profile I want to talk about is the new person, and then we'll talk about what we liked, didn't like, fun trivia, and grade it, and then we got it. Is Alfred Molina. And I know that he was uniquely situated in the terms of this film because when in 2002, when Spider-Man was coming out, Sam Raimi already knew who he wanted to be Doc Ock. And Doc Ock was supposed to show up in the first one, but it just didn't work out that way because they thought it was going to derail the film. Fine. But Molina had gained weight to be Diego Rivera and Frida in 2002. So the challenge was then, now you have 2 years to build onto our sequel. You got to lose weight. And he did. He was like, I want to look like those old time, like boxing fighters. I don't just want to look like a pudgy guy like he does in the comics. Like I want him to have some like weight. So he had to lose a lot of weight. And I thought that was interesting. But Alfred Molina, British actor, good guy. Incredible that he just really wanted this stuff to be lovable. He wanted Ock to be somebody that is relatable. And I thought that was really interesting also. I have to go back in his filmography because I know it was in the 80s, if I'm right, and not super insane. I know one of his first things was Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, he was the guy that died in the first Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So I love that that's where he started. But I love Alfred Molina. I love him. And I was just appreciative that he appreciated the comics and wanted to do them right. And that just makes him a perfect villain because he plays Otto super well. He plays Doc Ock super well. And the marriage between both of them makes us care at the end with, I don't want to die a monster. Intelligence is a gift. Yeah, you're right. Pushes off the arms for a minute. Like it's just everything that he gave this was perfect. I don't think they could have cast anyone else to be Doc Ock, and I would have loved it. So what did you like? What didn't you like? Just
I liked that the characters were just much better defined in this movie. Like I still don't love Harry, but his hatred for Spider-Man, which kind of fuels him in this movie, like he was very believable as like I freaking hate Spider-Man. Like that worked to me. Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, I thought her performance was better in this movie. Still, the writing's not very good for her, but I think that was better. Even Aunt May, like going down to that whole spiel she gives, like there's much more for her to do, much more for her to say in this movie. There's a lot of similar beats in this movie as the last one. Like when Peter first gets his powers in the first movie, that whole scene. And this one, him trying to do basically the same exact thing over again, testing his powers, basically like twice. Talking to Uncle Ben, talking about Uncle Ben, MJ and him off and on again. Like there's so many similar things in this movie that there was the last one, but this one is just it's just bigger. The emotion behind it is just bigger. It really works.
And better.
Yeah, and better. I very much like Peter losing his powers and then figuring it out and then like regaining them because he knows like he has to be Spider-Man and just putting on that duty and like realizing he has to give up his dreams. He has to do this because that's his like responsibility. He is a hero. That's just much better in this movie. Even Willem Dafoe and his very short-lived, like minute in this movie. When I was watching this, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I remember what he says, avenge me. Like that's like really good.
Yeah.
Even that one little minute, he was just really good. Again, the special effects, the CGI in this movie, much better than the last one because they put a lot more money into it. Harry's still kind of a bad friend, to be honest, because like, like Doc Ock's like, how do I find Spider-Man? And Harry's like, Peter Parker, but don't hurt Peter. Like, there could have been
after the fact.
Yeah, there could have been a little bit better way to say that. I didn't love, and I don't love sad Peter. People talk about a lot Andrew Garfield being the sad one, but Tobey Maguire, I don't know if he's sad, but it's kind of like awkward / lame. Like, just stop being so weird for a second, man. I don't know. There's a lot of beats in this movie that's kind of like, let's just get off of that and move on to the next scene. Like some scenes are a little too hooked on him, on his reactions, on his, like I just need to move it along a little bit quicker because it's kind of awkward and we don't really want to be there. Like even the pizza scene, like there are some funny moments, but it's like, is this really integral to the story? You know what I mean? It's really not. Like it doesn't really move the action further. It's just kind of there. It's not all like, oh, I needed this scene in this movie to further the story. It's just kind of like there. That's what I didn't love. But again, Alfred Molina killed it. All of them, I thought, just really killed it. Special effects, very good. Train scene, awesome. Again, very iconic. Music's stellar. So, yeah.
Yep. I could say the same thing you did. What I'm gonna abbreviate here and say that what I loved about this film was the depth of this film compared to the first one, and the design and the character work and everything. The depth of this film is just so much more. Notice our notes were way more in this than they were in the first one because there's so much more to pull. There's storylines, people are engaged. Even our new villain like had a wonderful backstory that you can just like pull and stretch and like really feel for. And it really hit well. It really did because they put that depth into the design, into the characters, into the writing, even into embracing the horror style that this early Spider-Man kind of is. I love it. I'll have to say the only thing I didn't like is every time there's an important moment or something important happens, Tobey's Peter Parker just pulls me out of it sometimes with being whiny by being like, it's just, I get it. I get what you were going for, but it's just going back and looking at it. Maybe it resounded more in like the 2000s with like sad kids, but like, it just doesn't hit me the same way now. It's just like, dude, like you don't suck that much. You're pretty freaking smart and you're Spider-Man. Like, figure it out. So I think that's the only thing I don't like, but the depth in this film is so much more than the first. I have a couple fun trivia facts about this one because there's always something fun about this stuff. I'm only going to do two, but these two are pretty good. Alfred Molina named all four of his tentacles. It was Larry, Harry, Flo, and Mo. Flo was the top right tentacle because it was operated by a female grip, and that particular tentacle was the most motherly, which removed his sunglasses and gave him sips of his drink. And like, I thought that was so funny. Like, of course. And the second one for me is just really great. Near the beginning of the movie, Peter's on campus. He drops his books. When he bends down to retrieve them, he's hit in the head by two backpacks. The second backpack that hits him, you don't see the face of the student, but it's Sam Raimi. And I love that, like, Peter Jackson did this in his films, eating a carrot. George Lucas shows up as like a weird alien in his movie. Like, that's what you do. You're a director. You get to show up at some point. But I love that it's so random. It's one of those, like, you wouldn't know because you don't see him, but it's perfect. In the gag reel, he actually whacked him really hard the first time. But it's just funny. It's great. I love that. There's also a third one that I'm going to mention now because you brought it up. The only reason that Willem Dafoe was in the movie, Alfred Molina was on a break from the set, and they brought in Willem Dafoe. It was just like a fun, like, hey, like, and he got into the reactor scene, and he had the arms on his back and the goggles on.
Yeah.
And they came and they said, hey, we want to show you how this scene should be run. And it's Willem Dafoe acting like Doc Ock, and it's funny. But him being there, they were like, hey, can we use you for like a piece or something? That's how we got the Harry, like, seeing dad thing. And the Avenge Me, which you're right, that's so iconic, was just because they played a little joke. And that turned out to be such a great piece to, like, cap off Harry and why he's, like, so crazy. So those are just some small things. Let's go ahead and vote on this. Let's grade it. Kyle, scale of 1 to 10, where would you put this?
I'm going to give it 7.9. I believe Spider-Man 1 was at a 7.3. Like, very, very good. Both these movies, very, very good. I own them. I should own them. Watching them back, because I always kind of, like, made fun of them in a way. When we talk about other Spider-Man movies, I'm kind of, like, harkening back to these ones being like, well, they weren't that good, but they were good for the time period. I think they really do hold up. Again, there's a number of things that I would just change in this movie, but it is very similar to the first one, but you're right, much more depth. It's bigger, it's better, and that's why I gave it a better score.
Which gives Kyle the Ruby Slipper Award for this film. Not bad. Not bad. I like it. That's pretty standard for where I think it should be. I'm going to give it an 8.6 just because of, like, where these were for me, like, growing up and loving Spider-Man. It's harder for me to, like, give it a lower grade because I will watch them. Every time I watch them, I'm like, dang, that was so good. Like, especially for the early 2000s, which is not known for high CGI and, like, good superhero flicks. So I'll give it an 8.6, which for me will be The One Ring. So love it, own it, should own it. You know, it's just hard not to like these films. It's hard not to like what they did with Spider-Man. Thank you, Sam Raimi, for this trilogy, because honestly, it's one of the better movie trilogies of all time. But yeah, I like this film. I'll still put it up there. Okay, there's obviously the Dark Knight trilogy, which is much better than this.
No, I'm just saying, wait till next week when we watch the third one.
Yeah, we'll have opinions on that. But this is going to wrap up Spider-Man 2 for us. It is a classic. If you don't have it, go out and buy it. If you can find it. I know a lot of people bought it before No Way Home. You can probably find it for cheap. Just watch it, go back, look at the effects, look at what they did, and just realize they did that in 2004, and it's just incredible. Also, their CG looks way better than the Scorpion King's CG. By the way, so the fact that they were able to do that, like, you know, that's why I'm so high on these films. I'm like, they really put the time and the effort into it, and it turned out really well. But again, thanks for hanging with us for another episode of Smashed Popcorn. We will see you next Friday with a special movie. Just kidding. It's Spider-Man 3. We'll see you then.